Alpengeist at Busch Gardens Williamsburg opened on March 22nd of 1997. It is a B&M inverted roller coaster, and without question, it is the tallest one out there. My gosh, when you see this ride for the first time in real life, it is absolutely daunting. What a massive behemoth of a roller coaster that this ride is. It's a B&M invert for Pete's sake. You wouldn't think that they would have this much of a height and a massive drop to it, as does Alpengeist. It has a length of 3,828 feet of track, 195 feet tall. It is 5 feet away from being a hypercoaster. Ain't that something? The tallest drop is 170 feet tall, which is the first drop of the ride. The top speed is 67 miles per hour, reached at the bottom of the first drop. Has 6 inversions and has about a duration of 3 minutes and 10 seconds from leaving the station to getting into the brake run. This ride is crazy in terms of its stature, but there's some other interesting things that I really like about this B&M Invert that other ones that I've ridden don't actually offer. And I want to talk about that in this review of Alpengeist because oftentimes people don't like this B&M Invert primarily because of the intensity. This is not the most intense B&M invert I have ridden, and that might be a total shock because of its stats, and it sounds imposing to the fact of what its stats say, but this ride is not as intense that meets the eye, and I've even found the Batman clones to be more intense than Alpengeist, and still standing by that statement. But we're going to talk about everything Alpengeist and review why I think that's the case, but why it has something different from the other B&M inverts I've ridden. Let's talk about Alpengeist.
Now get ready. Here we go.
Now, as we always do with our reviews, we first have to talk about how we get to this ride. Now, Busch Gardens Williamsburg is divided into many different sections based on countries in Europe. Alpengeist will be found in the Germany section of the park, which is located in the back. So the quickest way to get there would be to go through Scotland, pass the Loch Ness Monster, go down towards the River Rhine cruise, go up into the Germany section, follow yourself through the castle, and you will find the entrance for Alpengeist. The other way to get there is to go through Scotland and into Ireland, follow yourself all the way around, going past all of the Wolf Valley, Wolf Haven, and Eagle Ridge, and follow past Invader, going through Griffin on occasion, cross over to the iconic bridge, and Alpengeist will be there. This is definitely the longest trek you'll have to take in order to get to a roller coaster as of right now at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. I have a very strong feeling that Big Bad Wolf, the Wolf's Revenge, is going to take that title when that ride opens. But Alpengeist is definitely a bit of a trek to get to. It is, as I've mentioned, towards the back of the park, but the fact is that the layout of this park actually really benefits it, as you can access this ride from just about anywhere. You'll see the winding white track and blue supports from pretty much everywhere in the park because of just how tall this ride is. It's also on a little bit of a creek and has 2 massive hills on either side of it, so it does add a lot of intimidation just to show off the height of this ride even more. It's pretty incredible to see. Now, let's get into the ride layout. Once you board your station, you pull down your over-the-shoulder harness, and then you are dispatched out of the station. You go straight up into a lift hill, as all B&M inverts usually start out. After that, when you reach your 195-foot tall height, you do a mini drop, and you turn to the right. This sends you directly underneath the track that you had just taken the lift hill from, and this sends you into an Immelman, a very interesting first element for a B&M invert, because most of the time you would think it would start with a vertical loop as its first element, but no, Alpengeist does something totally different. It starts with an Immelman, and I'm all for something different. After that, then it goes into all reliable and goes into a vertical loop. This is a massive 100 plus foot vertical loop. It is absolutely huge. After that, it goes into a tunnel, which then takes you into this Cobra roll. And might I say, this Cobra Roll is one of the snappiest and whippiest elements I've ever faced. If you are in the back row on Alpengeist, you are sent. Absolutely whipped through this thing. It's not rough, and that's one of the big things I have to emphasize enough. This ride, I feel like, is super smooth. I feel like this is a very smooth roller coaster. But my goodness, you are totally thrown into that Cobra Roll. It is one of the whippiest, fastest, and aggressive elements on this ride, and I thoroughly enjoyed it a lot. Again, Cobra Rolls aren't everybody's cup of tea, but this is a Cobra Roll you need to experience for that absolutely ridiculous whip that it has. But after the crazy whippy Cobra Roll, you are then sent back the opposite direction. You go past the vertical loop, and this takes you into the mid-course brake run. After that, you drop down to the right, passing by the station underneath the bridge, and you will then go into an inline twist, a mini zero G roll. This takes you to another turn, which then takes you into a corkscrew. You go through a helix that sends you to the right, and then you turn into the brake run. Alpengeist is one of the most intimidating coasters at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, off of its sheer stats and the fact that you can literally see it from just about everywhere in the park. It is a really, really cool roller coaster that I'm thoroughly happy has been a part of the Busch Gardens Williamsburg hype train for the longest time ever since before I was even born, which is kind of crazy to think about. And this ride still runs so good. And I even rode it in the winter, and man, I almost want to know how it runs in the summer, because I bet it is absolutely gnarly in the summer, just how intense this ride could get. But the intensity, as I mentioned earlier, is not the golden shrine of this ride. It's the intimidation of the ride, and as well as the whippiness. The whip, and if you are into very fast transitions, this is a ride for you. Even though there really isn't many of that, I feel like the whip on that Cobra Roll just wins me over every single time. And Alpengeist definitely shows off some really strong stature based off of its stats, and that's kind of been its saving grace. Otherwise, I've kind of found Alpengeist to be not the most intense invert out there. I've found the Batman clones to be more intense than it, and I think it's because that the elements are just way bigger. And honestly, I'm also more used to seeing a more compact layout for a B&M invert, and this one's definitely a little bit more sparse. But it doesn't take away from the ride for me. It is still a really great roller coaster that really shines where it's located, and I think its spot in the back of the park, you're crossing the bridge, and the shots that you get of this ride is truly one of a kind, and you really cannot replicate it anywhere else if this ride were to get removed in the next 20 years. Let me know what you guys think of Alpengeist at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. Don't forget, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Always thank your ride operators. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you all in the parks very soon. Goodbye.
Here we go.